Is your sexual fantasy a common one? Let's find out. Hey guys, I'm Stephanie Ganowski, sexologist and sex coach for men. The first most common fantasy are threesomes or partner sex. And people who typically gravitate towards this fantasy are wanting shared experiences with others. They're seeking novelty. They want some newness. They want some variety in their sex life. Maybe they're a more adventurous type of person. But regardless of who you are, this is a super common fantasy, and it is probably the most common of them all. Now, a second extremely common sexual fantasy among people is BDSM. The BD can stand for bondage and discipline, DS, dominant, submissive, and the SM, sadism and masochism. And these fantasies can range from light spanking to literally whips and chains, like you hear in the songs. So there's a ton of variety within BDSM. It's not just whipping or intense play. Some of it could be very light. You have to be very forward about what the rules are. And this is what makes BDSM very fun, and it could even be relaxing because there are such clear rules that you discuss with your partner before going into that type of play. And if you're someone who's interested in BDSM, make sure that you look into, how to communicate when it comes to having a sexual relationship this way, because it's very, very important to make everything crystal clear before going into these type of power play dynamics. Now, a third super popular sexual fantasy is role play. A boss and an employee, a doctor and a patient, a stranger at a bar. You could play a character and have fun with it. It allows you to be a different person, which can be very thrilling and also relaxing at the same time. It also brings about novelty and newness for your partner. Let's say you're wearing a wig or you're acting a totally different way than you normally would act. Your partner's kind of like, oh shit, like who is this? Who are you? And that novelty creates a lot of sexual anticipation for both people. The fourth common sexual fantasy is voyeurism and exhibitionism. Voyeurism is watching other people have sex, perform sexual activities, and exhibitionism is being watched. Because this seems so taboo, it's like we shouldn't be watching people do that. They shouldn't be watching us. There's a thrill that comes with that, right? So a lot of people do enjoy either one or the other or both, and it is super common. Then we have public or risky sex. Being in a place where you might get caught. It's dangerous. There's adrenaline added into this fantasy, a very heightened feeling of what if this happens? Oh my God, what if we get in trouble? And this one actually can be dangerous to a certain extent. You can get arrested. Now is probably a good time to say, just because you have these fantasies doesn't mean you have to act upon them. You can keep a fantasy and jerk off to it, right? Like you don't have to act it out. So for you to masturbate and think about getting caught or almost getting caught, let's say, that could be something you could add to your visualization when you're masturbating. Or you can even role play with your partner or partners and create a scenario where you're almost getting caught by them. The majority of people have a sexual fantasy, and whether they want to keep that fantasy a fantasy for life and never act out on it, cool. Maybe they want to act out on some and their partner's totally cool with that. And their community, wherever they are, they're safe doing that. Amazing. So embrace your fantasies. Don't feel bad about them. Just about everyone's got one. Hope this video helped you. I will see you in the next.